We have been discussing about Empedocles, and we continue with Empedocles' philosophy of love and strife and its impact on other Western traditions and also Oriental traditions. This is Dr. Ananya Barua, Associate Professor in the Department of Philosophy, Hindu College. We know by now that Heraclitus, one of the earliest Greek philosophers, did talk about unity of opposites. The core idea basically is that what Heraclitus implied was reality is composed of opposites in tension. That is, he had said, war is the father of all. Example, the way up and the way down are one and the same. Similarly, like Empedocles, Heraclitus sees conflict and tension as essential to the structure of reality. The difference, we see Heraclitus does not use mythic personifications like love and strife, and he does not believe in eternal elements. Plato, Eros and Chaos. In the Symposium, Plato describes Eros as a cosmic longing that seeks unity and wholeness. In the Timaeus, the Demiurge imposes order, like love, on pre-existing chaos, like strife. The similarity, dualism between harmony and disorder with a divine ordering force. A Gnostic religion around 3rd century CE positing an eternal struggle between light and darkness. Human souls are fragments of light trapped in the material world of darkness. The similarity with Empedocles here is a cosmic battle between opposing forces with a moral and spiritual dimension. Difference we see in the Gnostic religion, the two principles are moral absolutes, not cyclical or reconcilable like in Empedocles. Now, if we try to glance in the Oriental side and see if there is any parallel, we pick up Sankhya philosophy of Prakriti and Purusha. Prakriti, basically nature, the active, creative principle, and Purusha, the spirit, the passive, witnessing consciousness. The world arises from the interaction and disequilibrium of the three gunas, sattva, rajas, tamas, with Prakriti. The similarity is that dualism and dynamic interplay produce the world of multiplicity. The difference, however, there is no love or strife as such, but the gunas, especially rajas, the energy of change, can be seen as analogous. In the Tantric and Shaiva traditions, Shakti and Shiva. Shakti, the dynamic feminine principle, force of manifestation, which can be or is compared to love. Shiva, the static, silent consciousness, comparable to the stillness after strife. The universe exists through their union and separation. The closest similarity can be a metaphysical polarity that drives cosmic play, Leela, not unlike Empedoclean cycle. Now, again, from the Oriental philosophy, when we talk about the Chinese philosophy, the concept of Taoism, the yin and yang. Yin is passive, dark, cool, feminine, and yang, active, bright, warm, masculine. The Tao arises through the balance and transformation of yin and yang. Similarity, a cyclical dynamic interplay of opposites governs all phenomena. Difference, yin and yang, are mutually generating, not in constant opposition as with love and strife. Further, Empedocles' impact on modern philosophy and science can be seen in the Hegelian dialectic. thesis, antithesis, synthesis. All reality evolves through conflict and reconciliation of opposites. Similarity, strife leads to change. Unity is always temporary and dynamic. We should also remember Freud's Eros and Thanatos. Eros, the life instinct, which is love, creativity, bonding. Thanatos, death instinct, which is aggression, destruction. Human behavior is shaped by the conflict between these two drives. Similarity, direct echo of Empedocles' love and strife transplanted into depth psychology. Now, in modern physics, entropy and order, entropy, the second law of thermodynamics, systems tend towards disorder, analogous to strife, and negentropy, which is localized systems, can maintain or generate order, analogous to love. Similarity we see with Empedocles is that a scientific metaphor for the cosmic tension between chaos and structure. Now, in the PPT as being displayed here, we see Empedocles in a wider context. The tradition of Empedocles and positive force being love or philia, negative force is the strife or neikos, outcome is the cosmic cycles. In Taoism, the positive force is yang, negative is yin, and outcome is the natural harmony. In Freud, it is eros, the positive force, negative is thanatos, and outcome is the psychological tension. We also have seen the Gnostic religion or Manichaeism. The positive force is light, negative force is darkness, and outcome is moral dualism. In Sankhya philosophy, positive is sattva and rajas, negative is tamas, and outcome is manifestation. Heraclitus, positive force is logos, negative is war or conflict, and outcome is becoming. Hegel is thesis, negative the positive force is antithesis, and outcome is historical progress or synthesis. So, to philosophically elucidate how Empedocles was steeped in Orphic, Pythagorean, and Greek religious traditions, we must recognize that his work represents a unique synthesis of myth, mysticism, and rational philosophy. Unlike many pre-Socratics who focused solely on cosmology or metaphysics, Empedocles fused religious doctrines with natural philosophy, suggesting the spiritual purification, ethical conduct, and cosmic structure as interwoven. Now, let us discuss about the Orphism. Orphism is when the soul is considered divine but fallen, trapped in a cycle of reincarnation due to an ancient guilt. The body is the tomb of the soul. Salvation comes through purification, ascetic practices, and ritual. Cosmic justice governs all actions. Empedocles' adoption of Orphism in his poem Purifications, Empedocles declares, quote, "I have been a boy and a girl, a bush and a bird, and a mute fish in the sea," unquote. This refers to transmigration of souls, metempsychosis, an Orphic belief that the soul cycles through many forms until it is purified. He also says, quote, "There is an oracle of necessity, ancient decree of the gods eternal, sealed with broad oaths, that when any soul stains its limbs with blood, it wanders for 30,000 seasons," unquote. This reflects, number one, cosmic guilt, which is impurity, especially violence, binds soul to the cycle. Number two, divine punishment and purification. A soul that has sinned is exiled from divine realms and must pass through painful rebirths. Number 3, philosophical significance. Empedocles blends cosmology and ethics. Physical existence is a fall from divine harmony. Matter and body are not neutral, they are part of the soul's spiritual journey. The cosmic cycle of love and strife mirrors the soul's own moral journey. Now, when we talk about the Pythagorean influence, harmony, reincarnation, and cosmic order, and try to map it with Empedocles, we see some interesting insights. Pythagorean philosophy, the key tenets: the universe is governed by number, so number has been the RK with ratio, proportion, and harmony. The soul is immortal and undergoes transmigration. Ethical purity, vegetarianism, and ritual discipline help liberate the soul. Reality is structured by mathematical laws. Number is the RK, first principle. Empedocles' adaptation, we see that he had retained the idea of transmigration and ethical purification. He believed in a deep cosmic harmony, though he expressed it not with number but with the interaction of 4 elements and 2 forces, love and strife. He advocated for vegetarianism, viewing that killing of animals as kinslaying due to the belief that all beings have recycled souls. Philosophical significance, we see that Empedocles replaces numerical harmony with elemental and moral harmony. Health and flourishing arise from balanced mixtures, love, while disease and chaos arise from imbalance, which is strife. Like the Pythagoreans, he viewed the cosmos as ethically structured. To violate nature is to violate justice. Now, when we talk about the Greek religious traditions about divine personification and cosmic myth, we must understand what the mythic imagination has been. Greek religion was not just ritualistic but deeply mythopoetic. Gods were forces of nature and mind. That is, Zeus was for thunder, Athena for wisdom. Cosmic order or cosmos was maintained by divine justice, and tragic guilt brings downfall, often through hubris or imbalance. Empedocles' use of mythic language, we see that he refers to the elements by divine names, that is, Zeus for fire, Hera for air, Adionios for earth, Nestis for water. He mythologizes love and strife as cosmic deities akin to Hesiod, Eros, and Ares. His poetic expression isn't mere metaphor. It expresses a sacral vision of nature. He also identifies himself as a semi-divine. Quote, "I go about among you as an immortal God, no longer mortal." Unquote. This echoes the seer poet figure from Greek myth, a human who, though through insights and suffering, achieves divine stature. Philosophical significance, we see that the universe is not morally neutral. It has an ethical and divine structure. Love and strife are not just physical causes, but moral and cosmic agents. Human spiritual striving is connected to cosmic processes. The soul's purification reflects the universe's cyclical return to harmony. Now, if we look at the PPT that is being displayed here, we see the synthesis in Empedocles, the poet, philosopher, prophet, the Orphic tradition, what Empedocles takes is the transmigration, the concept of guilt and the concept of purification. How he transforms it? He does by adding cosmic consequences and natural law. Now the tradition of Pythagorean, what Empedocles takes is harmony, reincarnation, vegetarian concept and ethical modes. How he transforms it? He rejects numbers with elemental balance, and the tradition is hence known as Pythagorean. The Greek religion, we see that what Empedocles takes is myth, divine personification, cosmic justice. How he transforms it? He blends with rational cosmology and moral drama. So, we see that Empedocles offers a holistic vision of reality that is pluralistic in matter, our roots, dualistic in force, love and strife, cyclical in time, eternal return, spiritual in meaning, purification of soul, ethical in action, non-violence, reverence for life, poetic in expression, divine names, seer's voice. Empedocles does not separate nature from ethics or science from religion. To understand the cosmos is to heal the soul, and to purify oneself is to align with cosmic harmony. The sources of Empedocles' work are fragmentary but foundational to the study of pre-Socratic philosophy. His writings survive primarily through quotations, references and summaries by later philosophers and scholars, especially Aristotle, Simplicius, Plutarch and others. Empedocles' own works were written in verse and only fragments remain today. Now, if we are to talk about the primary works of Empedocles, we must understand that Empedocles is known to have composed at least 2 major poems, both in dactylic hexameter. One has been on nature, which is a philosophical and a cosmological poem that deals with the 4 elemental roots: earth, water, air, fire; love, which is philia, and strife, nekos, as cosmic forces; the origin and composition of the world; the nature of perception and thought. He preserved mostly through fragments and quoted by later thinkers. The other poem that Empedocles had written was, the primary source was the poem entitled Purifications. This is a religious mystical poem with Orphic Pythagorean influences, and this poem discusses transmigration of souls, original sin or cosmic guilt, vegetarianism and ethical purity, the soul's fall from divine origins and path to redemption. And heavily and moral and spiritual in tone, majorly purifications the poem is. Some scholars debate whether On Nature and Purifications were a part of one long poem or through 2 separate works. The debate continues. Now, besides these primary works, some ancient sources that preserve or that have preserved Empedocles' fragments are, because his original poems were lost, what we have are fragments quoted or paraphrased by later writers, and this includes Aristotle, who often cites Empedocles in metaphysics, physics and on the soul, and he discusses his theory of the elements and perception, and he criticizes and compares him with Anaxagoras, Democritus and Plato. Now, Simplicius is the other secondary source, who has been a 6th century Neoplatonist commentator. He is a major source for his commentaries on Aristotle's physics and on the heavens, quote large portions of Empedocles' fragments, some at great length. We also have Plutarch, who quotes Empedocles in his moral and philosophical essays. He is interested especially in the ethical and spiritual teachings from purifications. There is also Hippolytus, who has been an early Christian writer who quoted pre-Socratics in refutations of all heresies, and he preserves cosmological and metaphysical fragments. There is also Diogenes Laertius, who is a biographer of ancient philosophers. He provides a life of Empedocles in Lives and Opinions of Eminent Philosophers in Book 8. He mixes biography, legend and philosophy, and Diogenes Laertius is by far one of the most important commentators of almost all the classical early Greek philosophers. We also have Lucyretius, who is a Latin Epicurean poet, admired Empedocles and mentioned him in De Rerum Natura. Last but not the least, the modern critical editions and translations of Empedocles can be found in D.K., who is Diels Krans, in the Fragmente dor Vorsecraticar, and this work is the standard reference edition for pre-Socratic fragments, and Empedocles fragments are numbered as DK 31A, which was the Testimonia, DK 31B, the direct fragments. We also have Inwood, Brad Inwood, whose work on the poem of Empedocles, published in 1992, is a leading modern English edition with Greek text, translation and commentary. Inwood organizes fragments by thematic coherence, not just by DK numbers, and he emphasizes the poetic and philosophical unity of his work. We of course have Professor Kirk, Raven and Schofield in their work entitled the edited volume, The Pre-Socratic Philosophers, that includes translations and interpretations of major fragments. This volume provides philosophical context and comparison with other pre-Socratics. We also have Patricia Card's work, A Pre-Socratic Reader, where it contains selected fragments of Empedocles in a readable, accessible format, and it is definitely useful for students and introductory studies. So, if we now have a look at the PPT here, we see that the thematic categories of the fragments, the theme of cosmology, the fragment type has been origin of the cosmos, elemental theory. Example has been in DK B6, B17, and the theme of metaphysics and theology. We see the fragment type on love and strife, unity and separation. Example has been in DK B17 and B26. We also have perception and cognition. The theme and the fragment type is quote, like is known by like, which is there in DK B109. The theme on ethics and purification, the fragment type has been about vegetarianism, transmigration, Empedocles, a claim to immortality, and that is seen in DK B115 and B146. The theme on divine self-identification, the fragment type is about Empedocles' claim to immortality, is seen in DK B112. About cycle and eternal return, the fragment type is cosmological cycle governed by forces, which again is seen in DK B17. Then the original works, which has been on nature and purifications in fragments, and of course there is a debate whether on nature and purifications are two separate poems or whether they were the part of a bigger same poem. The debate continues. We also have the ancient authors on Empedocles like Simplicius, Aristotle, Plutarch, Diogenes Laertius, Hippolytus. And last but not the least, the modern scholarly editions have been a huge source for gathering about Empedocles' philosophy, be it DK or Diels Krans, Brad Inwood, Professor Kirk and Raven, Patricia Card, and so on and so forth. So, we have covered in this lecture today about Empedocles and how he did have a mapping or a legacy influence on Pythagoras and other philosophers, and how his concepts of the four roots have been an epitome of he being celebrated as a pluralist Greek philosopher. And last but not the least, the introduction of the two metaphysical forces, which have been the love and strife, continues to be one of the most pioneering works in early Greek philosophy, and for these Empedocles is celebrated even today. Thank you so much.